not very talented. This is him basically in talking about great replacement theory without saying the.
So you guys know, right? We talked about that whole replacement theory, clergy theory. We talked about all of that on the live stream that I did on BLR1, and also a clip dropped this morning where that particular topic was covered, right? So to reference the terms that are being discussed here, everybody knows this whole quote unquote replacement theory, right? Which again is interesting because there's no replacement theory. The only thing that has actually been done in actual human history is that the very people that fear this replacement theory literally did that to other groups of people. They literally came here and replaced native indigenous people. They've been working to try to replace Africans, destabilizing the government, strangulating the economy. These people are practitioners of replacement theory. Nobody is replacing them. There's not a bunch of white people walking around with African last names that don't know how to take care of their hair unless they had a ratchet, mom or dad. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about the black one, the black parent. I'm talking about the white one. Those are voluntary interracial relationships, right? Not people that are born as a result of slave breeding, right? So they just completely leave that part of history out. Nobody's coming for these people. Nobody's checking for them. Nobody cares. If anything, the biggest enemies of these people are other people like them. The biggest enemy of the United States is Russia. The next biggest enemy is China. They can't even be honest. They have no integrity. They can't even keep it real in the face of demise, which is exactly the face that they're in, is the face of demise. There is no such thing as great replacement. You know what I'm saying? Toria says, "That's your brother on the far left." That's hilarious. He might be. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just playing. Nah, he ain't. So my question for you guys is, who's actively trying to quote unquote replace these people, and how are they doing it? Now, there's evidence of us being replaced, right? Very clear evidence. We got a whole group of people here who literally, right? Not just during the times of slavery, but even to today, they're still attempting to erase our history. And they do it on a media scale, and they do it on a conversational level. You talk about racism, the first thing somebody says is 400 years ago. What are you talking about? 400 years ago. What the hell are you talking about? You think that racism was one isolated event that happened 400 years ago? Why is my last name closer to your last name than it is to somebody from an indigenous tribe or somebody from Africa? Why is that? Because you all have been great replacing people. Why do Filipino people have Spanish last names, ladies and gentlemen? That's my question for you guys. Oh, well, you want to make this a black and white thing. Okay, let's not make it a black and white thing. Why do Filipinos have Spanish last names? Is it because all the women just fell head over heels with the white men when they came over there and just all decided to, bust it open for them and get married? Is that how that went? I mean, if you listen to Pocahontas, you know what I'm saying? That's what they'll tell you. But is that actually how that went? What about the indigenous people in Canada who, every time they happen to stick a shovel in the ground, they're they're uncovering some child that was buried by these people? Yeah, what about Mexicans, right? Because a lot of Mexicans, they might have some European ancestry, but many of them are descendants of Aztecs and Mayans, right? So how'd they get the last names? Same thing, Pocahontas scenario, white men showed up, all the women just start busting it open? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that's not what happened. Now, that might be what these red pill content creators want you to believe, and some of the black pill clowns. But yeah, that's not quite true. If that was the case, there wouldn't have been a need for slave breeding quarters. So who's guilty of replacement? Let's start there. Who has been the perpetrator of replacement? That's my question for you guys. Let me know in the comment section. What group of people? What countries did they come from? What groups have done that? That's my question. The dubs. Facts. Shout out to Hurricane IQ. Shout out to Mr. Aiden. What's good with it, bro? If you guys agree with Hurricane IQ, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Matter of fact, they did cultural genocides all over the place. Europeans, and even on a broader spectrum, right? On a broader spectrum, other groups of Caucasians, like Arabs, during the Crusades. Other groups of Caucasians, not just European ones. The Turks, you know what I'm saying? All those groups of people. The present day people from the Mediterranean, Greeks, Armenians, all those people, other groups of Caucasians, they're all guilty. They've all attempted to replace other people based on their own genetic paranoia. Still genetically paranoid.
Words great replacement theory, but here he is on his program.
And so there are really two parts of the story. The first is the story itself, which is the demographic trend, where whites are trending towards extinction in the United States. Like that's.
Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that they dug their own grave? Do you guys think that whites are trending towards extinction in the United States, as Matt Walsh says, as a result of their invention and perpetuation of racism? Because let me ask you this. How do you lead in every category and still find a way to die out? That's my question. Let's talk about that. How do you find a way to lead in every category, even if it's artificially boosted, and you still find a way to die out? You still find a way for the wick of your existence to dim into eternity. How does that happen? How do you lead and have all of the resources in the world and you find yourself on a one-way trip to oblivion? How does that work? How does one do that? How does one manage that? Let me ask you guys a question. Who looks worse? People that have very few resources and commit lots of crimes, or people who have everything and can't stay alive? That's my question. Well, all those European wars, I guarantee you those didn't really help the numbers. The Dark Ages, the medieval period, World War I, World War II, Ukraine versus Russia. Shout out to Anubis. What's good with it, bro? I'm sure those things didn't help much, right? But at the same time, there's the genetic integrity issues. But remember, it is this group of people that have the biggest problem with cross-cultural relationships. They try to create systems where cross-cultural relationships and things like that can be weaponized against the people who have less power in society. They did this all to themselves. They did this all to themselves. So now let's ask those questions. Why is it that these people are trending towards quote unquote extinction, as Matt Walsh says, in the United States? People like Matt Walsh have encouraged black people to coat hanger their babies. And we're not trending towards extinction, despite the fact that there's this interesting new paranoia. But I don't know, that a lot of things that I observe seem to be kind of like fleas that jump off of white supremacy and land onto us. So you see a lot of adopted talking points at times. Our population actually went up. We were allegedly 13% of the population. Now we're 14%. The simple fact that white supremacy exists, white supremacy has to have a group of people to exploit. And we're the only one that fit the cookie cutter of the ones that would make the prime Goldilocks zone for exploitation as of right now. So they're not going to take away the base of the pyramid scheme that they have set up. In a Ponzi scheme, you have to have the base. You know what I'm saying? So Matt Walsh is outraged. He's concerned. He's concerned that in the United States, a certain group of people might not be able to populate a small town. That's what the lyrics that Jason Aldean came up with should have said. We're trying desperately to populate a small town, going to fertility clinics and such, because just creating kids is way too much. We tried it in a small town. You know what I'm saying? Prenatal vitamins are at an all-time low in small towns. Baby bottles, formula, and Enfamil, all-time low. Thank goodness, because as a result of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, baby formula is at an all-time supply shortage. Not really doing much to help the case. Then not to mention the monkeypox epidemic. That's not, creating new babies. My man. That's creating super spreader adults. It's not creating new children. Then not to mention, they want to spread the rainbow all over the world. We don't need you to spread the rainbow all over the world. A heavy rainstorm and some good sunlight afterwards can do just a good enough job of that. But I digress.
That's the way it's headed.
What?
And then the other part of the story is the veil of silence around this issue, the wall that is erected around it.
What wall of silence? That's literally all you hear. You have white children, white 18-year-olds, literally going to their schools and deleting people, going to Tops in Buffalo, deleting people as a result of the fear of extinction. Peyton Gendron wasn't quiet about this, was he? Shout out to Tarek. What's good with it, bro? Let me ask you guys a question. Was Peyton Gendron quiet about this issue? He felt that he could quantitatively ease the depleting numbers if he mass deleted a bunch of black people in Buffalo. Here's my question. Why would anybody say anything about it? White people have said for the longest time that black lives don't matter at all. This is the same group of people that took the original phrase was Black Lives Matter too, right? Because two means also, right? They took the two off of it and tried to make it as if it was some kind of exclusivity phrase. Whoa, white lives aren't involved in this? Everybody knows that when it comes to the way that society is set up, society caters to white life. That's why in white neighborhoods, they have fertility clinics, and in black neighborhoods, they have abortion clinics. And these same people that get paid and get kickback from the abortion clinics want to sit there and finger wag at black people, black women mainly, about having abortions while getting a paycheck from the abortions that they're funding. Well, you tried to coat hanger all of our babies, erase our history, indoctrinate us with Christianity, and none of that helped. None of that helped. The numbers are still decreasing.
Now you're going to say, well, you just read a story about it, so it's not a silence. Yeah, they can report on it. So you report and you celebrate diversity, and then you just move on. We don't talk about it. We don't think much about it, and that's it.
Let me ask you guys a question. Who celebrates diversity? And let me ask you guys another question. Who were the original diversity people? The very people that complain about an ethno-state are the very people that went and diversified everybody else's ethno-state. They call it being a pilgrim. They call it being a settler. Now they're trying to integrate outer space. We're going to quote unquote settle on Mars. We're going to quote unquote settle on the moon. Very delusional, dangerous, grandiose, narcissistic liars. This is what's called you made your bed, or actually I should say you laid your casket. And now what you're complaining about is a culmination of your life accomplishments. This is what you are to be proud of. This is what we worship these people's ancestors. George Washington, the founding fathers. Oh, founding fathers ain't producing enough kids fast enough. Got a negative birth rate. It is what it is. I don't know what's expected. Okay, if you're worried about your population, then do something about it. How many abortion clinics are in white neighborhoods? How often is abortion marketed to white people? What is this guy complaining about? It's amazing to watch.
You aren't allowed to talk much about it. You certainly can't be concerned about it. You're not allowed to express any concern. That's unthinkable.
You're on YouTube. YouTube has a guideline policy, and you're expressing concern about it on YouTube with your guideline policy. So what are you talking about? You're not allowed to express concern about it. I don't know. Maybe if you didn't blatantly encourage black people to delete their children, maybe if you didn't have a race massacre in every single state in the United States, maybe people could look at the situation different. I don't know what to say. But you're talking about it, so you're not being censored. You have about 2 million subscribers. You're not being censored. What are you crying about with your fragile ass? I want to ask you guys a question in the comment section. What's this guy crying about? Who's stopping him from talking about it? Oh, because I'm talking about it, and nobody's stopping me from talking about it. So why would you be stopped from talking about it? You're on Rumble. You got multiple platforms with way more subscribers than you deserve. Is it that nobody's talking about it, or is it that nobody cares? Let me ask you guys in the comment section. Is it that nobody's talking about this, or is it that nobody cares? Which one is it?
Yeah. To hear that whites are on their way to minority status and the white population is declining, the worst thing you could possibly do is to talk about it at all is already a problem, but to suggest that there's any reason at all to be concerned about that, or to be anything less than.
Let's hear the concern. I want to hear why there would be concern. I mean, white people are super people, right? They don't need any advantages for anything. So I mean, like, honestly, if the white population shriveled to only one person, I mean, because they're so extraordinary, that one person got it, right? I mean, that's what they've been saying. That's what Charles Darwin said. That's what the bell curve said. So I mean, what you worried about? What are you worried about? What are you worried about? What you worried about? That someone might just wait until you're at a suboptimal level and then embrace villainy? Is that what you worried about? Well, shout out to your instincts for working, because you should be worried about that. You should be terrified about that. As a matter of fact, it will probably be in your best interest to act as much of a fool as you can possibly come up with in your pea brain. So yeah, you better start talking about this shit. Hey, you better start talking about this like your life depends on it. Oh yeah, I forgot. It does.
Thrilled by that development is incredibly racist, we're told.
Sorry, like, this is not happening. Like, of all I've.
All right, so they kind of. Looks like we got some technical issues going on. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, we had some technical issues. Hold on real quick. Let's see here. All right, let me see. Okay.
Yeah.
We know that it's like, it doesn't even need to be said, but I'll say it anyway because we all know that's true. But we know that the continued existence.
I'm sorry. Okay, and that's a really like
the continued existence. The continued existence. What? It doesn't sound like there's going to be a continued existence, but so let's just say the theoretical or the hopeful continued existence. What was going to come after that? So now let me ask you guys a question, right? If everybody loves everybody and we're all in this together as people, right? It doesn't matter who's a minority or who's a majority because we all got each other's back and we all take care of each other, right? The only problem is that that's not how it's been, buddy. That's not how it's been. And honestly, when or if at whatever point this happens, I really hope people make sure that they galvanize and really, really, really make sure that they understand, make sure that non-white people understand what they've been a part in this entire time. Because now all these people of color, their fearless leaders will be gone. Their gods, their idol that they worship will be gone. It'd be like a snake without the head. And honestly, if you ask me, they need to be taught. Your leader's gone. Now you gotta experience how hard you made life for us for damn near 1,000 years. So good luck.
Like, it doesn't even need to be said, but I'll say it anyway, because we all know that's true. But we know that the continued existence of any other race of people is considered deeply important, and the preservation of the historical.
Really? Our continued existence is considered so important that people like Matt Walsh have encouraged generations of us to coat hanger our babies. Our existence is so important that they have us in areas where our water is toxic. Our existence is so important. We were expendable property until the 1800s, and then not given human rights until the 1960s. Yeah, I don't think so, Matt. I think you're living in a delusional world. I've heard politicians say that that whiteness is imperative to American culture. It's the ingenuity of the white men that established the United States that give it its cultural strength. I've heard people say that. Marjorie Taylor Greene was one person that said that. She agreed with Nick Fuentes when Nick Fuentes said it. I've never heard even a black politician say how quote unquote good black people are. How life-worthy black people are. Hey, look, shout out to TD Hip Hop Media. TD said, Rob hating. He want to go live when I go live. I need them 48 watching now. That's hilarious, man. Yo, make sure y'all go and check out TD's video when y'all get done over here. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to say, but all I do know what to say is that if things keep trending like the way that Matt Walsh is talking about here, they're going to have a hard time populating a small town. So that's something that they're going to want to try in a small town, is populating it and see how far that goes, if it goes anywhere at all. You know what I'm saying? But again, they created this vitriol. They created this environment. And so now it's getting served back hot. And I don't know what to say, except for what I'm saying right now.
Traditional racial identity of any nation is considered deeply important. You know,
What's not?
Traditional racial identity of any nation is considered deeply important. That's interesting, right? Because it's not considered important here. This country was already diverse when the white criminals that stole this country got here. It was already diverse. The white criminals that came here and stole made it even more diverse against people's will. Slavery and Jim Crow make up a big part of America's racial history, and people like Matt Walsh are too cowardly and too weak-nerved to talk about it. The racial makeup. Free white people and black slaves. That was the racial makeup. But you want to talk about black slaves. You talk about how beneficial slavery was for black people. Let's talk about how beneficial being a minority will be for white people. Shall we? There's minorities now that have a lot of power. You be all right, B. There's minorities running around out here every day. You be all right, B. You be all right. You know what I'm saying? You be all right. Candace Owens will protect you. That little color coalition that you got at PragerU, they'll protect you. Herschel Walker, you know what I'm saying? He'll stop people from getting in the end zone for you. Let me ask you guys a question. What is the racial identity of the United States? I need you guys' feedback. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have the like screen up because I'm processing a video in the background. So if somebody can let me know what the likes are looking like in comparison to the live number, that'd be great. And whatever needs to be done, make sure y'all do it. Hit that like button, share it.
So, for example, if there was an influx of white immigration to a historically black country.
Hey, Matt, the United States is a result of white immigration to a majority non-white country. Hey, Matt, the state of Africa is a result of white immigration to a majority black continent. Hey, Matt, all of the issues that China had having to get itself back together through communism, those are the results of European intervention in Asia. Duh. Filipinos with Spanish last names are the results of white people immigrating to non-white countries. Aborigines in New Zealand and Australia being dead are the results of white people going to non-white countries. Duh. So, you see that what happens? This is why they fear. This is why they're scared. Because they know what they did when they went to other places. And now they're letting people in as a result of their anti-black vitriol. And now they're seeing what they did to others be done to them. And they're not even getting the worst part. They're not even getting the worst part. You know, it's just kind of a peaceful, you know, homegoing type thing. Not dying a miserable death or anything like that. It's the people like us. It's the people like us that live. We got to deal with the misery. We got to deal with the changes. We got to maintain this planet after you leave. Which means that we have to deal with new challenges that arise, whatever those may be. Terrestrial, extraterrestrial, subterranean, whatever. It's the survivors that have to deal with the world, Matt. Not the people on hospice going out calmly, sucking morphine until they don't breathe anymore. Everything that you just listed as a fear is literally what the end results of the country are that you're so proud of. So since you're so proud of that, you should be encouraging that for other people, which is what's happening right now. But for some reason, you have misplaced outrage. I don't know.
Like South Africa?
And that was resulting in a giant demographic shift wherein it was becoming a predominantly white country rather than predominantly black. This would be considered a major, major problem.
Can you pause it? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the indigenous people here considered it a major, major problem. I'm pretty sure the people in South Africa, when white people came there and set up apartheid, considered it a major, major problem. You need to sleep at night and have 8 hours of nightmares every night. When you wake up, you'll be okay. Maybe. As you lose power, guarantees are also lost. This is a it is what it is situation. Would you guys agree? If you guys agree that this is a it is what it is situation, give me a thumbs up. And the thing that's interesting about this is that whether they may feel this way or not, all white people ain't really boisterous about this. It only seems to be the racist ones that actually make it known that this is something that they're concerned about, which, in my opinion, validates the fact that racism is absolutely the evolved result of the instinctual fear of genetic annihilation. Because, you know, the white people that, you know, ain't really on this kind of shit, this ain't shit that they sit around talking about. You only get this kind of rhetoric on certain corners of the internet and certain channels. The very people who try to sit there and say that they're not racist. And I'm not racist. Okay. I'll just let you talk and see what you say. Yeah, not only is the birth rate going down in Europe, but the sea level is going up around Europe. So it's just, there's just, you know, it's just a shame. Kind of like Chicago. It's just a shame what's going on over there. And then there's the whole monkeypox thing. Can't let anybody forget about that.
Right. Okay. So
Who's colonizing us?
yes,
Yeah.
no one's. The problem for him is that there is no equivalent of colonialism with brown or black people. Like, except, I mean,
Because we actually brought him here, whether it was from slave ships or putting our border further and further south and west.
he's making a claim that he doesn't even know that he's making, which is
So let me see. I want to hear, and I don't know what the hell Emma's babbling about. She's saying some shit that doesn't make sense. I might have to address that later. But let's go back.
White country rather than predominantly black. This will be
Let's listen. Let's listen to Matt Walsh. Here we go. Of course, and again, remember, these are the very people who say that it's not about race. Now, wait a minute. It's not about race, right? Nothing is about race until it is. Let me ask you guys a question. Did Matt Walsh bring race into it? I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but aren't testosterone counts and birth rates decreasing around the board? I mean, like, you know, I mean, I don't understand why you want to monopolize the conversation, Matt. This is something that everybody deals with. And, you know, since everybody's equal, we can't really just put the focus on what you have going on over there. We got to look at everybody. We got to look at everybody. We got to benignly neglect your issue. That's interesting how that works, isn't it?
demographic shift wherein it was becoming a predominantly white country rather than predominantly black. This will be considered a major, major problem. And
this has literally happened all over the world where predominantly not white countries have artificially become predominantly white countries. And guess what? Because a certain group of people stole and had all of the resources, everybody just turned their heads. It wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem. But now it's a problem because it's a problem for you.
There's no doubt about it. And yet, in the reverse, it is either neutral or cause for celebration. But really, it should be a cause for celebration.
No one's celebrating anything.
And you know what? This pertains even to the animal kingdom. I mean, you can think of there's a particular type of, I don't know, hummingbird.
Oh, got invasive species discourse.
Even for that, we're supposed to panic.
No, actually, that's the thought that certain animals, when they go extinct, are supposed to panic. That's something that white scientists and white lawmakers came up with. In most cases, when things die, they just die, and that's the end of it. That's called the end of the line, whether it's the end of the weight or whether it's the end of the bloodline, whatever line it is, that's called the end of the line, my dude. Let me tell you something. How often do any of y'all think about praying mantises? I don't think about a praying mantis until I see one. If they were extinct, I wouldn't know. They got federal protection though. Praying mantis got more protection than a black person do. And that's a damn insect. And that's in a WS system of what they feel is human equivalency. Maybe that's why people ain't really just falling all out to get y'all on some life support. And then, you know, there's nothing humble about it. You do shit like steal Henrietta Lax's HeLa cells. You do shit like adopt black children and parade them around like some type of trinkets. I don't know what to say. Here's my question for you guys. What do you say about something like that? I mean, most people aren't really saying anything. And the fact that most people aren't saying anything, that's not even enough for him. He wants everybody to just start crying and, oh my God, what are we going to do? I know one thing we're not going to do, not going to be dealing with Jim Crow, not going to have slavery, not going to have anti-black racism from the main perpetuators and inventors of it. Not going to have people trying to manipulate our history. Not going to have people try to sit there and tell you a million times that the 4th of July is Independence Day when your ancestors were still slaves. Those are some things that we won't be doing. Would you guys agree with that? Does that sound pretty accurate?
If I were to say, hey, whatever, I mean, what does it matter? So we don't have that type of hummingbird. We got plenty of other hummingbirds. What does it matter what type of hummingbird it is?
Yeah.
The difference doesn't make.
White people are platypus.
So yeah, this type of hummingbird is there's more of that and there's less of this. Like, who cares?
Okay.
If I say that, I'm callous.
But sorry, Matt Walsh definitely does not give a shit about any animal going to.
If I'm not mistaken, Matt Walsh is one of those people that is actually against the protection of those endangered species. That's like some liberal stuff. So you already know he ain't with it.
Yeah.
The difference doesn't make. So yeah, this type of hummingbird is there's more of that and there's less of this. Like, who cares?
Zero sum.
If I say that, I'm callous. Because no, it's very important that we have all varieties of hummingbirds. Every variety is very, very important.
So
we have to keep them all around. Every animal in the animal kingdom, we got to keep them all around. It's extremely important. If any particular variety starts to dwindle, if any particular type of species of animal gets driven out of its territory,
race isn't a species either. That's another
very bad.
Yeah. Another makes it look bad.
Yeah, and that is actually a good point. Like, races are not species, but that's neither here nor there. Again, this is the manipulation of science, which again is one of the reasons why I feel that it's extremely important for us to maintain and have our own science and information data banks.